I was telling Omar here that I'm still kind of new to this. I'm just getting into it. It's been a while since I've done an episode for the podcast. So I'm super excited to be here tonight. I'm super thankful that you guys could join me on the show.
It's a pleasure to be here. I'm glad it worked out. I just happened to see you post that you were looking to talk some Star Wars. I'm like, yeah, sure. What the heck? I can always talk some Star Wars.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. It's this time of the year that it just, for me, so this time of the year, I just really get into Star Wars, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah. And we've had for 3 out of 6 or 7 years, we've had at least one Star Wars in the month of December.
Oh, that's true.
That's
yeah,
what it is.
That is true. Yeah. So, getting into tonight's episode, do you guys want to start out just kind of with a short introduction with yourselves, and we can go from there?
Sure. I guess since I've
take it away, Mark.
Yeah, I've been hogging the mic anyway, Omar. So I'll take it away first. My name is Marc Ronick. I've been podcasting for 15 years and started a business recently. Actually, it's been a couple of years almost now, called Ironic Media, where we produce podcasts and consult podcasters. And I've been a part of or have hosted a variety of different podcasts. The one that I've been doing the longest, I actually just brought back after a year off. We took a year off around COVID. And that's with me and my best friend Lowell, who we went to summer camp together as kids. And friends to this day, and we do a show, the Mark and Lowell Show, and it's really all about, I was just talking to somebody, because I always have a hard time explaining what the show is, and to put it simply, it's like having that really close friend that you've known all your life, and you're in a room at a party, and you two are telling people stories, and that somebody, at least one person, stops you at one point in the night and goes, you two are so funny, you should start a podcast. That's us. That's exactly who we are. So we've been doing that now for 10 years, with minus the year off that we just took. So that actually just came back recently, and really excited about it. And like I said before, glad to be here.
That's super awesome, man. That's a long time to be podcasting.
Yeah. It was not that easy 15 years ago. Not as easy as it is today. We didn't have Zoom like this, and we didn't, there were no tools, nothing. Just about.
That's wild, man. That's wild. What about Omar? Are you you're a podcaster yourself, right?
Yes, I am. My podcast is called Arts Review and Commentary, or ARC for short, and it takes a critical look at themes that go through various art forms, mostly focusing on movies and television, but I also include literature, theater, other visual arts as well. And this is something that I just realized. I got my start with my podcast on Mark's network, where he does the Mark and Lowell Show, one of the first shows on that network. When I got the go-ahead to do that, I was in my dad's home country of Tunisia, visiting the city of Tatooine, where they filmed Luke's homestead.
No kidding.
Yeah, I just made the connection now that this is all full circle.
That's pretty cool, Omar.
That is cool. I didn't know that's where they filmed that at.
They filmed a lot of the Tatooine scenes in the Sahara, in the southern part of Tunisia, in various locations for episodes 4, 1, 2, and 3.
No kidding. That's awesome. That's freaking awesome.
Wait, let me ask you real quick, Omar, did they film that scene in 7? I'm sorry, in 9?
I'm pretty sure they did.
Okay.
But that one last scene where Rey says her last name's Skywalker.
Oh, you just ruined the whole thing for everybody. What a spoiler.
Spoiler alert. Oh, man. So was that in that location then as well, or is that?
Yeah, that's not where Actually, you know what? It probably is, considering the sand that was filled in. They may have like trucked in a whole bunch of sand to
Yeah.
fill in that site. But the dugout part is a
Right.
different location than the dome igloo facade.
Okay. Right.
So those are filmed in two very different locations.
I did not know that. That is super fascinating.
Yep. Yeah, I
So-
remember Omar has pictures as well of
No
that
kidding.
experience. Yeah. I've seen those. They're pretty cool.
That is pretty awesome. So where does the journey begin for both of you guys as far as Star Wars goes? Is it something that goes back as far as your memory can take you as little kids? Kind of what's the background story?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I think I'm sure I could speak for a lot of Star Wars fans that for me, I have some faint memories. I think the first time I saw a Star Wars movie in the theater, it was Empire Strikes Back when I don't know, I was probably 5 or 6 maybe. And I do have just, flashes, glimpses of seeing that in the theater. And really, it could be the first movie that I ever saw in the movie theaters. And if it's not, it's definitely the first one I remember seeing, at least, like I said, images. And then my memories from there really goes to two places as a kid. It's the toys, which, by the way, I've got this original
Oh my God, look at that
land
thing.
speeder toy from A New Hope, and it's got a C-3PO in it. I did have this, and this is not my original one. My cousin found this for me at like a yard sale or something.
No kidding. What an
Yeah,
awesome find.
and then I also have here Return of the Jedi Luke Skywalker action figure in the black outfit, which was a toy that I sought out for a long time. It was one of those really hard to get figures around that time when Return of the Jedi came out. So toys, and then watching them on as I continue to date myself, on VHS tapes, probably Betamax tapes as well. I remember just watching those three movies, Star Wars, Empire, and Return of the Jedi, over and over and over again with my brother, with my friends. It was then I remember even we bought lightsabers, at the Toys R Us, and we used to have neighborhood lightsaber fights and tournaments, and I lived and breathed it, and I never really got rid of that. So to this day, I'm like a kid when I see anything Star Wars, and now with all the new stuff, particularly on Disney Plus, I'm all in.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah, man. That is freaking awesome. You mentioned like the toys, and that's one of the big things I remember as a kid going back down memory lane were some of the toys. I remember my grandmother had like this big rebel ship with all these little action figures in it, like you have in the land speeder there. And those movies as well, I think the older ones, I think I started with Return of the Jedi on VHS, and that was what really kind of drew me in. So
yeah, I mean, that's
likewise.
Oh, that's for you too, Omar. Your Return of the Jedi.
Well, yeah, I'm just a little bit younger than you, Mark, but I remember also flashes of being in a movie theater, but for A New Hope, and not its original release, but like one of its subsequent re-releases. But that didn't really count because I didn't remember it. I just remember the trash compactor scene. I must have been 2 years old when that came out. I missed Empire, but because it had been, everybody had seen it, I knew the story. So I knew what was going on when eventually I saw Return of the Jedi in the theater. And that was my first real movie going experience. And it also was very formative in that it was a movie going experience with a capital E, where you had a crowd cheering when Luke does steps off the skiff and on the gangplank, and then catches it and does a flip,
Oh yeah.
and starts battling, the entire theater just went nuts.
Right. Right. A more recent memory similar to that one that you're describing for me, that feeling and memory, a more recent Star Wars one is during Attack of the Clones, when Yoda breaks out the lightsaber for the first time and fights Dooku. That scene when that lightsaber, when he pulls it out using the Force and ignites it, I remember that whole theater just erupting. Yeah.
That's freaking awesome. So do you guys lean more towards the classic movies, or are you, do you love them all, or do you favor one era more than the other? I guess is what I'm asking.
Omar, you take it.
I like the story overall. There are some missteps in terms of dialogue and pacing, if you're looking at it from a film criticism point of view. But the original trilogy, and especially Return of the Jedi, will always hold a special place in my heart and memories. When the prequel trilogy came out, I was, like a lot of people, really, really excited. But it was met with a lot of disappointment. But it was still a lot of fun to watch, the lightsaber battles especially. But there was a lot of backstory in there that, you had to really, really be a fan in order to be enjoying the politics of the taxation of trade routes.
Right.
And then when the sequel trilogy came out, Force Awakens blew everybody away, but it was nostalgia candy, and it had diminishing returns. So to answer your question, what era? I don't want to poo-poo the prequel trilogy or the sequel trilogy is crap, or they didn't used to make like before. I'm not that kind of toxic fan person, but Return of the Jedi is one of my all-time favorite movies and movie-going experiences. So we'll leave it at that. I think the whole universe is a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, that amen. And I think really my guess, Ken, is that in most cases, for most people, they're gonna say it's the era that they were growing up. I think
Absolutely.
that there's just, because as kids, it's so influential and makes such a huge impression on us. You can't recreate that as an adult, and I think that's why Star Wars fans today are so divided and so angry, because I think they are wanting that magic that you can't duplicate as an adult that you had as a kid. You can enjoy those movies and you can relive it. You can't really duplicate it. And I think people are expecting a Star Wars movie to be for them as adults, and Star Wars, I think genuinely, and Lucas, I know has said this, is really made for kids.
I completely agree with that. And I was thinking the same thing when you said it depends on what generation you grew up with. And so I'm 30 years old. I was born in 91, and I grew up more around the prequels. I still love the originals. I love Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back, New Hope even. But the prequels, for me, I loved them. I thought they were great movies. And you saying that with each generation being geared for kids, I think that is in one way has helped keep the Star Wars universe going, because there's a considerable gap in between all the movies. And there's a new generation that grows with them. And I think as time goes by, we look back even on The Force Awakens, we're going to gain more appreciation for those movies. and kind of how it was all played out and directed. I liked the newer movies that Disney made. I don't have anything negative to say about them, but the prequels for sure, man. I think the first one I saw in theaters was Episode 1. I'm pretty sure, and that was a big time for me because the pod racing. Like I really got into the pod racing aspect of that movie,
Yeah. And I get that as a kid. See, I think this is a great example of what I was just saying, because that I was in my 20s during that time, during that movie. And I remember I remember enjoying the pod racing scene. And I also remember thinking, do we really need this scene? And I remember thinking and it's a really long scene, and it did kind of bother me. I'm fine with it that it's in there, because I know that a kid is really going to be entertained by that.
For sure. I still think Episode 2 though was I have a hard time watching that one. That is a slow movie,
Yeah. But for me, it was, you kind of were saying this about the sequel trilogy. I feel like for me, I don't care. Yes, I agree. Some are a lot worse than others, but I appreciate all of those movies. And Attack of the Clones, I never had a big problem with, like everyone else does. I mean, it's not the best story of the bunch,
right?
And it had some great moments in it too, like that Yoda moment that I was talking about, and that ending scene. I really enjoyed that battle at the end, and from the clones and the troopers and the clone troopers and the and what do we call those the
battle droids?
The battle droids, thank you. That scene's great, and then the Dooku scene, it did give us some great Star Wars moments, so I can't hate on any of them.
I think Episode 2 also opened up a huge universe and potential for the Clone Wars. I mean, the Clone Wars era was pretty massive. There's a lot of books that were written around that era.
Yeah. So where do we all fall now on, say, the TV shows? And maybe we start with that. See, I didn't get super into Clone Wars. I've seen some seasons. I definitely saw the last season, really enjoyed it. I really loved Bad Batch. Have you guys seen that?
Yes, I have. I've seen them all, except for Resistance. I haven't seen Resistance.
All right. Yeah.
I have not seen them yet. I think my brother sent me a list of those episodes to definitely watch,
Yeah.
So I've been.
You're more of you're more of a movie Star Wars guy.
More of a movie kind of guy. Yeah, for sure, man.
What about Mandalorian?
I enjoyed the Mandalorian, the 2 seasons that came out. I enjoyed them, but I've been having kind of a hard time, looking forward to like the next season, I guess, and they're good shows, that I like the story behind them, but I'm just stuck on the movies and the moments that are so powerful in all the movies,
So are you not super excited about Book of Boba Fett?
I am excited about it.
That doesn't seem very. Yeah, that wasn't a ringing endorsement.
Honestly, I don't know too much about it.
Yeah.
I just, I don't know too much about it.
Okay.
Let me say something about Boba Fett. So Boba Fett, for Gen Xers, was like the coolest character ever.
Yeah.
And
that we didn't know.
Yeah, it's because we didn't know. It's because he was left up to mystery, and it was he only had like 5 or 6 lines in Empire Strikes Back, and that launched this sort of cult of personality around Boba Fett. And I never got his popularity. I never understood it at all. Probably because maybe he was the guy who caught Han Solo, something that he was formidable. And then, so popular that he survived his fall into the Sarlacc, something that, again, I was like, that's complete wish fulfillment. So when that turns out to be true, when we see them in The Mandalorian, I was a little bit disappointed, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, I want to see where this is going to go.
Right.
For sure. There's definitely a lot of room for them to continue to build on, with it, which I like, I like that. I like that it's continuing on. It doesn't just end with the movies,
Right. Yep.
For
The
sure.
Mandalorian saga has a lot of backstory if you watch the Clone Wars and Rebels. The whole Darksaber saga, not saga, but there is a story arc surrounding the Darksaber that we see in the end of the first season of The Mandalorian. And if I highly recommend watching the Clone Wars and Rebels. It's a lot of fun, and it's considered part of the Star Wars canon per George Lucas.
Yep.
Heck yeah, I'm gonna have to check those out for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I would even consider starting of the ones that we just mentioned with Rebels. I think it's got that for me, and Omar, you correct me if I'm wrong, but for me, it really has that true Star Wars movie feel, where you've got your random cast of crazy characters, you've got your Force ability characters, you've got your Jedi, you've got the conflict of growing up into a Jedi, you've got all the elements of Star Wars, and it just captures it beautifully. I really like that series a lot.
Heck yeah, I'm gonna check.
I like both Clone Wars and Rebels equally. I'm, a continuity person, so I'm all about starting chronologically at the beginning. And for me, it also, oh my gosh, what is that Jedi's name? She was played by Rosario Dawson in The Mandalorian.
Ahsoka.
Yeah, Ahsoka. Okay. So we see, because Clone Wars focuses heavily on Ahsoka.
Right.
And when she reappears in Rebels as, an older person, her reappearance has a lot of impact.
Yeah.
For sure. I was surprised at the end of the second season of The Mandalorian. For sure. I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah,
Holy
there was
smokes.
a lot to digest in that movie, and I loved Luke Skywalker's appearance in that.
For sure.
And and I, again, as a loving Star Wars fan, I was totally fine with the CGI. I know it wasn't great, and it did bother me, but I didn't care because it was Luke Skywalker back on the screen, and he just kicked some major ass.
He sure did. It was the hero is back. Yeah, that took me by surprise. I thought they did an awesome job with CGI, and I was just amazed. Speaking of CGI, I was watching Rogue One the other night, and I was just impressed again at the CGI with Tarkin on the command deck and how they were able to really capture, his powerful might, and
I was pretty impressed by it too. I mean, a lot of people hate on it, and I've gone
Not
back.
me.
You don't hate on it either?
I say that Return of the Jedi is my favorite. Rogue One, I think, is the best.
I agree.
But we're talking about the CGI specifically of Tarkin. Because I do agree with you. I think Rogue One was a very, very good Star Wars movie.
Phenomenal. I think it definitely was the best. I have to agree with you. Even though there's no Jedis, no lightsaber battles in that movie for me is one of my favorites. It's probably my favorite Star Wars movie,
and one of the best. I would probably say the best Darth Vader scene ever.
For sure. 100%.
I mean, the way he just tears through that ship and just kicks everyone's ass, it was phenomenal. And then that scene leading to the opening of A New Hope was just mind-blowing.
It was, man.
Yeah.
That leads me to my next question I want to ask both you guys is, what is your favorite lightsaber battle of all, the
Ooh.
movies and that you've seen, what's your favorite one?
I'll tell you what popped into my head, and then I wanted to argue with myself, so I'll just go with it. Is I think it's Phantom Menace, and I think it's with Darth Maul, that ending scene with the three of them. I think that because we hadn't seen anything like that yet,
Right.
as far as real lightsaber duels like that. I mean, that was what you had dreamed of seeing and never got to really see it, and then boom, it's just handed to you on a plate. It was awesome. So I think that's got to be it for me.
Mixed with the Duel of Fates musical score,
Yeah.
that whole scene definitely was moving. I'm curious to hear what Omar's response is to that question.
I have three that come to mind.
Okay.
The first one is and it's the long one. It's at the end of Revenge of the Sith. The Anakin Obi-Wan long battle.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's up there.
Yeah.
But all right, yeah. So that'll be third. Second place is the final battle between Luke and Vader in the Emperor's throne room.
Okay.
Where we see because that had, even though the fight choreography wasn't as complex and kinetic as in the prequel trilogy, the emotion was there, where it's Luke almost succumbing to the dark side and chopping his father's hand off and looking at his own, which leads me to the my favorite one, which is the lightsaber battle, the first lightsaber battle between Luke and Vader in Empire, because that tells a story of Vader testing Luke's skills, seeing how Luke's training has paid off in one way or another, and how Vader was completely in control of the environment and the pace of the battle, and culminating with the severing of Luke's hand, which was a shocking moment.
Yep.
For sure. I can only imagine being like in the theater, seeing that for the first time, and just like clenching the chair. Like, there definitely seems to be an emotional connection with that bonds us to like these lightsaber battles. And I think episode 3, the one between Obi-Wan and Anakin, really does it for me. That just every time I watch it, I feel so moved,
Yeah, it's hard to argue that one. And yeah, Omar, you called that one out too. It's hard to argue that one because that does kind of that scene, or yeah, that whole scene really compiles everything that we all just said is important to us in a lightsaber fight, right? It's not just about the dramatic fighting, the choreography. It's also about that emotion, and there was such emotion and passion behind that scene from both sides, both characters. Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
100%, dude. And tying it all together, where Anakin becomes Darth Vader, the moment people had waited 30 years for, to figure out what happened. Really just dude, even when Obi-Wan says to him, you were supposed to be my brother, oh man, I lost it. I'm losing it thinking about it now.
Yeah. Yeah, and it makes the original movies that when you see Obi-Wan and him with Luke, you get a whole different perspective of Obi-Wan after that.
100%, dude.
Yeah. And now that's a TV series that, Ken, if you're not excited about the Obi-Wan series, then
I totally am.
Okay.
I totally am. Whatever happened with like the Obi-Wan movie? I know there was like this teaser trailer that was floating around for years with that was going around the internet.
I think I know, but Omar, you're the movie guy, so do you know?
This is speculation based on bits of stuff that I've compiled, and it's just that there, after Solo didn't do well at the box office, and there were all those production issues involved with the with Solo, a Star Wars story. They and with the success of The Mandalorian, they realized that a TV series would be a much better way to tell the story. And you'd get more bang for your buck. I mean, it's more lucrative to produce a television show and stream it on Disney Plus, where you have already a whole bunch of subscribers, versus releasing it in a theater and it not performing well.
Yep.
I understand that from like a business perspective, but do you think that has anything to do with like the director of the movie, like how it was directed too? Because Solo, I was a little disappointed with that movie. And I think a lot of it has to do with how it was directed. Could that be a part of it as well? Or do you think it's just people are enjoying streaming shows more than they are sitting down and, watching a movie?
Well,
I think you have a point there, and also that the management of Disney and the directorial choices went hand in hand as far as Solo was concerned, because Ron Howard was a replacement director for Solo. They switched out Miller and Lord, the guys who directed Into the Spider-Verse and the Lego Movie. They were set to direct it, and they were replaced by Ron Howard. So you have a troubled production, producers with interfering with the vision, et cetera, et cetera. And you have a mixed message, and and you end up seeing on the screen. So I think they learned their lesson and tried to, how should I say, coalesce everything around, a singular vision, or at least better management.
Right. Yeah, I was a little disappointed with how Han met Chewie, but hindsight's 2020. It's still a Star Wars movie, in my opinion.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So I want to jump over to the next question here and kind of get you guys' minds going. If you found yourself caught somewhere between a Jedi and a Sith, what color lightsaber would you choose?
Yeah. Oh, so we're actually kind of, all right. So we're not one or the other. We're not a Jedi and we're not a Sith.
Well, okay, let me reverse that question. Just
okay.
What color lightsaber would you pick if you could?
I might go with yellow.
That's the choice I was gonna pick. Would be yellow for sure.
Nice.
For sure.
What about you, Omar?
Blue, hands down.
See, I would go to blue because I gravitate to that because it's it's Luke's and Anakin's, and then but I have this love for the yellow because that was the original Luke Skywalker action figure had a yellow lightsaber, and I believed for a long time that was the color of his lightsaber until I got to see, I think, Empire Strikes Back, because it wasn't like today. We didn't have the internet to go and find a million videos and photos of the movie. We had to wait until it, at first, A New Hope didn't even come out on video right away. I don't think video existed yet. And so yeah, you didn't know. So I always believed it was yellow, and that's so I think that's the one I'd like to go with if I got to have an actual lightsaber.
For sure, I would probably go with yellow and gravitate towards green, I think, personally. But that question just remind me of another question that one of you may know the answer to, that the movies didn't wrap up or answer for me, was how Maz found the lightsaber. How did she come to find Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber?
That is a good question. I don't know that they definitely didn't describe it or go into it in the movies. There may be a book or a comic or something that has told that story. Do you know, Omar?
No.
Yeah.
I'm like I said, like you said, there may be a book or comic that went into it, but no, that whole line that's a story for another time. Is typical J.J. Abrams
Right.
of planting seeds, hoping that someone else will make it grow. That's what he did on Lost.
I see.
Well, I was about to say that's what he did on something else, but no, that's what he did on Lost. And
What were you about?
honestly, this is not that far from actually what George Lucas did in the beginning with Star Wars, because the whole Luke being Vader's son was not in the script. It was not in the original story
Right.
plan,
Right.
and neither was Leia being Luke's sister at the end of Empire. That was just something that they tacked on.
You're right,
Well, not
because
that.
wasn't it like nobody knew that Darth Vader was going to say, Luke, I am your father, except for, Mark Hamill? Wasn't he like the only one that knew that he was going to say that?
Yeah, that's right. But even before that, when they filmed A New Hope, it wasn't even called A New Hope
Right.
because
It was
they
just called Star
didn't.
Wars.
It was just called Star Wars. They didn't know that it was going to be success if it was going to be successful. So it wasn't episode 4 of whatever. It was just here we are. We're jumping into the middle of a story, and they added that story element when they got a green light for a sequel.
Now, but Omar, I don't think I knew, or maybe I've forgotten, that they didn't decide on Leia's relationship to Luke until Return of the Jedi. They did reference toward the end of Empire, Yoda says, "No, there is another," to
Yep, that's
Obi-Wan.
right.
So you don't think that was Leia in that moment?
No.
Okay. So I wonder who they were thinking of in that.
Really?
Or
I always thought he was talking about Leia.
well, that's what they conveniently tell us in the next chapter of the story. They just worked that in nicely.
Oh,
I don't.
yeah.
But what Omar's saying, I guess, is that wasn't the intention of the other, and maybe they didn't have one. Maybe that was just
Or
one of those open-ended things, and see how it blossomed.
it was either that or they were referring to Leia, but not necessarily Leia being Luke's twin sister.
Okay. Yeah, maybe that could be. That she just was somebody that has the Force.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know there was so many parts of the movies and franchise that they just kind of make up as they go.
Oh yeah. I mean, look at the sequel trilogy. That's what
Right.
that's what they did in each of the 3 movies.
Oh, that's great. Out of those 3, I would say the newer ones, I'd say probably my favorite one is The Last Jedi.
That was of the 3. I mean,
Yeah.
I liked it for a lot of reasons because there was a lot of fan, what do you call that? Fanfare, fan service? Fan
And
service?
service.
They catered to the fans nicely in that movie, and I think though, man, it's really hard for me to pick one only because none of them are amazing. I think the Force Awakens, I loved it because it brought it back and it really felt like Star Wars to me. And I was like, okay, we're back in business. I can't wait to see where this goes. And I got to tell you guys, and Omar, I think you know this because I think we might have even recorded an episode of after The Last Jedi. If not, I might have done it with somebody else. The Last Jedi, I loved it when I first saw it. And I think that the public has skewed my opinion of it since, because I remember walking out of that movie really, really moved by it. So I'm kind of on the fence, and because I gave you all 3 reasons. So yeah, I'm on the fence. If you had a gun to my head, I guess I would probably pick. I'd probably pick Force Awakens just because it really caters to all the things that I love about Star Wars, and even though it has a lot of things that I didn't like about it.
So when you guys first saw The Force Awakens at the end of the movie, what was your thoughts on Rey? Who did you think she was related to? Because that was like a big secret there for a while. I think even the Last Jedi, they still didn't reveal who she could be, and I certainly had my own speculations. But what were your guys' thoughts on that? Were you?
Omar?
I was not wanting to speculate as to who she would be related to. And in fact, that's one of the things that I liked about The Last Jedi was that she wasn't related to anybody that we knew. And that last shot of the little kid at Canto Bight using the Force to, pick up a broom to show that, the Jedi, or I'm sorry, the Force doesn't belong to a particular family. Like it's not just the Skywalkers or the Palpatines. It can be found anywhere, which Rise of Skywalker completely jettisoned.
Mhm.
So when when we see Rey and she has the Force, there was also a bit of Finn, and maybe he had a bit of the Force too. So it was like, is it Han and Leia's kid? But
That
no,
was what I thought.
they would know if they had a missing daughter, right?
I thought for
suppose so,
sure it was
true.
Luke Skywalker's or Obi-Wan's. But then I was like, oh, Obi-Wan was a true Jedi, and he, was like single his whole life. So I was like, yeah, it's probably not his daughter, But Luke, on the other hand, I could see.
Right, because there were no real Jedi rules anymore. He could make the rules of the Jedi. He was the only one left.
Right. And I saw it like an interview they did with her after the movie, and she'd said she thought it was pretty obvious who she was related to, but she wasn't going to say anything. And I'm like thinking, watching the movie again, like it's not obvious to me,
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think that's who I thought. I think I thought somehow Han and Leia, even though you're right, it's like, wouldn't they know that they had another? But you could make up something. She was unconscious, and they stole the baby when who knows?
Right. And I think the books too. Correct me if I'm wrong. During the prequels, they were making books and stuff.
Yeah.
But wasn't it in the books Han and Leia had two kids? It was like I can't think of the
3, I think.
Oh, was it 3?
Really? I
Yeah,
only
they
knew
had
that they had twins.
Yeah, and one of them was named
was it Jaden?
Yeah, there was a Jaden and there was Jason. And I think the third one I think was named Anakin.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I did not know that. Interesting. I've only read a few of the Star Wars books. There was like a Darth Bane, I think, which I read, which was really good. There was one with Darth Maul as like a kid, like his childhood and being, trained by Palpatine as a child and stuff. That was a really good book. Can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but there's just so many,
Oh yeah.
If you like Darth Maul, you'll like his stuff in the Clone Wars.
Oh yeah, you get a lot
and
of
Rebels as well.
Yep.
So that would be when he's like got the spider thing going on, right? Where he's like, yeah, okay. I'll have to check those out. So one of the questions I have here, where is it here? If you could hitch a one-way ride on the Millennium Falcon, which planetary system would you go to?
You see, Omar, you're not going to pick Tatooine because you've basically already been there.
Yep.
So why waste that trip? I hate cities, so I'm not going to what's it called? Coruscant. Definitely not going to Coruscant. I'm not a city guy. That's a tough one. Maybe I'd go to Moon of Endor.
That's a good choice. That's a very good choice.
I am a city person, but I wouldn't go to Coruscant because there's too much there. And even though I thought it was the worst part of The Last Jedi, I would love to visit Canto Bight because I love Vegas.
Ah, that's true.
Oh, man. Canto Bight. For me, it's a toss-up between Naboo and the forest moon Endor.
I think Naboo, that's a great call. I think
That's a
I'd
good
like
one.
to change my answer and jump on the Falcon with you.
For sure. Naboo would be pretty cool. I mean, you have the Gungan city underwater, you know,
Right.
but also the forest moon of Endor would be a good choice because you have that Yavin 4 that you get to see every day. I think it'd be so cool to see a planet that massive, like,
Right.
you know, in the
That would be
sky.
pretty cool.
I think that'd be pretty cool. Okay, so moving down the list here,
Hmm.
do you guys have any favorite quotes from the movies you still use to this day while having conversations with
I
people?
know Mark does.
Well, I should probably find the sound bite, although I don't know that I have it at the ready. Yeah, because on the Mark and Lowell show, we often get a real kick out of the Emperor. We get a kick out of Palpatine because, I mean, he's just brilliant in his delivery. And I think one of the big ones that we our go to is when he does that no. That one is a pretty high one on our list. And or when he goes, not from a Jedi. That one's a good one too.
That's pretty good impression too.
Thank you. Yeah, I like those. I mean, there's Yoda quotes I could go on and on all day, but those are probably the ones that make me laugh the most.
There's tons that I laugh at. The one quote that means a lot to me, and it holds true, like as a sort of aphorism, is Yoda's quote from Phantom Menace: "Fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering." That
So true.
of all the things that has been said in Star Wars, that probably is the most true statement that you could ever say.
Yeah, I think that resonates with a lot of people. I hear a lot of people use that one as their go-to.
100%, dude. That, I mean, I live my life by that. You know what I mean? Like the philosophy and mythology and all the elements, that are tied in with Star Wars, I think is what has spoken the most to me. I love those aspects of it because it's a love story, it's an adventure movie, it's an action movie, it's science fiction, fantasy, it's everything with all these thought-provoking things in it. And may the force be with you, that's a classic,
Of course.
quote that I use, but I think one I use probably the most is Darth Vader's "I find your lack of faith disturbing."
Oh, that's a great one. That's a very memorable quote. Yes.
It really is, so that's probably my favorite of all time for sure.
I think one of mine, like Peter Cushing's line readings as Tarkin, are hilarious, and I wish I could roll my R's.
Me
but
too.
Evacuate in our moment of triumph. I believe you overestimate the chances. That always gets a kick out of me.
Yeah.
Oh man, that Han Solo's quotes, he cracks me up. I love Harrison Ford in all of his movies. Yep. Indiana Jones is right up there with Star Wars and favorite movies.
All right, so can we real quick derail and just I just want a quick survey from both of you. Are either of you excited about the new Indiana Jones movie?
This is the first I'm hearing about a new Indiana Jones movie.
Really?
Is Harrison Ford going to be in it?
Apparently so.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Then I'm very excited about it.
I'm gonna see it, but I can't say that I'm, super excited about it.
Yeah.
It's not because I don't like Harrison Ford or anything. It's just that for me, the Indiana Jones movies are hit and miss. They're 50-50 for me. Raiders and Last Crusade are good, and I hated Temple of Doom, and I didn't like Crystal Skull.
Interesting. See, Temple of Doom was my favorite Indiana Jones movie of all time.
Wow. I liked all three. It might have been my least favorite of the three, but I still really liked that one. I hated I don't even remember the name of that fourth one. What was it again? Crystal Skull?
Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Yeah, I hated that one.
Yeah, I did. I wasn't a fan of it. I watched it one time.
Yeah, I think I may have only seen it once as well. Yeah. So, okay. All right. Back to Star Wars. Sorry.
Back to Star Wars, man. Actually, that's all I really have as far as questions go on the list. If you guys want to take it, if you guys have any questions or want to take it a direction, more than welcome to do that.
All right. I'll give you one to end on. Okay. Because I'm sure, Ken, you probably are a fan of Marvel movies as well.
I like them, but I haven't watched them.
Okay. Okay, but are you aware of the whole idea of the multiverse?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So there has been, and even in Rebels, I believe, Omar, there has been hints of a multiverse type of thing within Star Wars. So my question to you guys is, how would you feel if they retconned the new trilogy and they redid them, remade them, told an entirely new story, and got rid of that old the original sequel trilogy?
How would I feel about
Can you
that?
go? I have an answer, but go take it, Ken.
Ken. Basically, if they make it simple. If the Star Wars gods, the Disney and Lucasfilms, they say, you know what? Just kidding. That trilogy we just put out there, it's a fake. It's not the story. We're putting out a new story. Maybe it's 10, 20 years from now. But they basically say that one didn't count. Here's the right one.
I would be okay with that. I think I feel like I would be more than okay with that if they did it right,
Sure. Yes. That's a great point. Great point.
Like I said, I don't really have a problem with the newer Disney movies. I think they did the best they could do, and you're always going to disappoint somebody, when it comes to doing something like that. I think their pick for J.J. Abrams on the Force Awakens was a good choice. I like J.J. Abrams as a director.
I think if they would have stuck with J.J. Abrams for all three, or at least had him more involved in all three, I think we may have had a better trilogy.
I think you're right. What do you think, Omar?
I think that I wouldn't like that. I wouldn't like it on the principle of you don't get do-overs when it comes to making movies. You do what you do, and
there were three Spider-Man movies, 3 different Spider-Men, and they all made good money for that franchise. They were all fairly successful, if not very.
Yes.
So you can have do-overs.
Yeah, I see your point, and but with Star Wars, over the course of however many years, I mean, you can say it's like James Bond, where they, especially with Casino Royale, that is definitely a hard reboot. It's just the principle of the thing is of you make your story, stick with it, and see what you can do. If you can salvage it with all the stuff there, because
so you would prefer, Omar, then probably if they just brought in a new trilogy, maybe new story, maybe continue. You're good with more movies. You just don't want to see them redoing anything.
Yeah, I don't, because while there was a lot to be, there was a lot that went wrong with the sequel trilogy. There was plenty of stuff there that was good, and also, people were saying the same thing about the prequel trilogy. And it's like, how can this insert complaint here about the prequel trilogy? A whiny young Anakin. How could Leia remember her birth mother, only a few seconds old, fresh out of the womb?
Right.
All of that stuff. And even in the original trilogy, there was plenty of stuff there that's like, that didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But they, you worked around it, or you accepted it, or you explained it away somehow. And you have an opportunity to do it. Like for example, one of the very first times we meet Han Solo, he says, "You've never heard of the Millennium Falcon? It was the ship that made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs." Okay. Parsec is a unit of distance, not a unit of time.
Mm-hmm.
And so they figured out a way to explain what he meant by that by creating a whole movie out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But
you mentioned that part of the scene though, and that makes me smile because maybe there's a certain element of sarcasm there that was intended for the audience. Like, you've never heard of the Millennium Falcon? Well, no, I mean, because it wasn't a very popular ship, maybe, but there's like a certain element of that. I think Lucas wanted people to use their imaginations for sure. And your question just in general about having a do-over, I understand what Omar's saying. You don't get do-overs, but maybe there could be an exception that could only be done if Lucas were to direct it, and Lucas's original, let him create the vision to end the Star Wars trilogy.
That I would say that's actually what happened when he did the special editions. Lucas redid the movies. He had the whole, Han, dodging Greedo's blaster.
Bullet. Yeah.
He had, replacing the end music at Endor, all of the new effects. He
replaced the Anakin ghost.
He replaced the Anakin ghost. He did all that stuff. So when I say, you don't get to reboot, that's kind of what I mean. Lucas went in and he retooled his own things. Some were good.
Right. You're talking about like in A New Hope, where they added the scene of the stormtroopers searching the desert for like a minute before. Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Also, or adding the scene with Jabba.
Yeah, I did not like that.
There was, and there are some good parts to it. Like, it established a sort of visual continuity throughout the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy. And it made you believe that the movies those 6 movies took place in the same universe. So I could see that, but there were too many little things that shouldn't have been there. Probably and this is getting really into the weeds here. When he added a no to Vader, or several no's to Vader before Vader kills the Emperor, that eliminated the tension as Vader is watching the Emperor torture and kill his son. By adding those no's, it reduced the tension, eliminated the tension, and made that ending less poignant.
Yeah.
For sure.
I agree with you for sure.
100%. I agree as well. Guys, this was so fun, dude. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
You're really welcome. I'm glad it worked out, and I had a blast.
I did too.
Same.
Man. Thank you.
Talk about Star Wars.
Yeah, I love it, man. And I'm hoping to do some more shows in the future on Star Wars, because there's just so much to cover, with the Star Wars universe for sure. But I think we did an awesome job this evening getting into it for sure.
Well, let us know when you watch either Clone Wars or Rebels.
I will. I'm gonna start that tonight. Actually, I'm gonna start. Actually, I want to check out what's the other one. The you'd mentioned
The Bad Batch.
The Bad Batch. Yes, I want to watch that as well. So maybe I'll jump into that this evening.
Enjoy.
Awesome. Thanks again, guys, so much. And why don't you one more time, real quick, let the audience know where they can find your podcast at.
Sure.
And,
Sure, yeah. So you can You can reach me if you are interested in podcasting, if you have a podcast, if you want to start a podcast, and you got some questions around that, you can hit me up at ironicmedia.com. You can also find me on Instagram at ironicmedia. And if you want to hear my podcast, you can check that out at marcandlowell.com. And that's MARC, and Lowell is spelled LOWELL. So that's marcandlowell.com.
And my show is called Arts Review and Commentary. And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ARC Reviews. That's ARCREVIEWS. Yeah, that's how you spell it. And you can find my show wherever podcasts are.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Thank you again so much, guys.
You're welcome.
You guys
Take care.
Have a lovely night. May the force be with you.
Yeah.
May the force be with you.